I really believe that joy is a gift that we get to give ourselves. We don't have to earn it.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Money Fit MD show. I am so excited to have the amazing guest that's going to be sharing with you on the podcast today. If you're new to my world, I want to say welcome. I'm glad you found us, whether you're on YouTube or on the podcast. I'm glad we're in each other's world. So everything we do here is for one goal, is to help women physicians live the rich life that they are born to live. And as a money coach who has worked with so many women physicians when it comes to their money, I find that one of the limitations that people have with doing their finances or even like giving themselves permission to do the work they need to do is they're assuming that once they start, they're going to lack joy. And of course, I'm like, we need to solve that problem because I need you all living your rich life. I need you growing your net worth. You know, you deserve all that. You deserve to live the life you want, impact what you want, work as much, as little, take a sabbatical, do all the things. And so, of course, I had to bring one of my friends here to come share with you guys today. So without further ado, welcome, Dr. Nora.
Hi, welcome. Thank you so much. Excited to be here.
I am super excited to share you with the world because number one is, I mean, we've known each other for a couple of years now in this, online physician world. So I've seen your journey and I know how busy your schedule is with all the speaking stuff and the work you do with women physicians and even just healthcare professionals in general. And so today, I just want you to bless our audience with this whole notion of joy. What is joy? What is that?
Yeah, such a great question. As a physician coach, I have the honor and privilege of really serving, medical professionals, healthcare leaders. And I was recently asked to go speak at a conference for Driscoll Healthcare. And this is a hospital in Texas. And the topic that they wanted me to speak on was joy, right? Reclaiming joy in medicine. And as I was reflecting and preparing for that talk, it occurred to me that so often we don't, in our busy lives, we lose the joy, right? And, I really believe that joy is a gift that we get to give ourselves. We don't have to earn it, right? We don't have to wait till this one, accomplishment or achievement in our life. Like it's a daily practice. And I think if we take the time to really give ourselves the gift of joy every day, we would lead much more fulfilling lives, I think, day to day.
So, just to make sure I understand, what you're saying is that there isn't something that you do or place you get to where joy automatically arrives. Like, is that correct? Is joy something that I can bring on, or am I waiting for the right candidate to get into presidency, or am I waiting for how can I have more joy?
Yeah, I think, we've been kind of indoctrinated in this culture in medicine where we delay gratification, we delay joy, right? We have to work hard, earn all the qualifications, the certifications, the degrees, and we have to climb this mountain. And it's, when we reach that final summit, that's when we can exhale and enjoy the fruits of our labor. And I really just don't think that serves us. It really doesn't, right? Because it's hard. Life is hard. Medicine is hard. And, in my own experience, in my own journey, as you know, Dr. Latifa, I experienced burnout in my career. And when I look back, I think a lot of the burnout, it comes from the system, the healthcare system. It comes from, the stressors that we face every day. But a lot of it was also self-inflicted. Right? I didn't give myself permission to really enjoy my work to the fullest degree. I didn't really give myself permission to enjoy the little things in life that really were fulfilling because there was always something on my to-do list. There was always something that needed to be done, accomplished. And so now having the tools of coaching that in the, all these insights, I've realized that joy can be very simple and it can be very luxurious when we just stop and pause and actually give ourselves permission to just enjoy the moment. to enjoy the work that we do, to enjoy, the snuggles with our kids, to enjoy the coffee every day, right? And having like a grateful heart, and when we pause and give ourselves time to be in gratitude and awe and wonder, the beauty of joy is what comes up in those moments. And I think we rob ourselves from that if we don't take the time to really enjoy those little moments day to day.
So someone's listening right now and kind of going back to where your journey when you were burnt out and trying to make this leap to, I don't know if recovery is what you call it, but like, were you able to go from burnout to joy, or was there a journey in there where do people have to go from like -10 to like 0, or is it something where they can expect to be able to make this leap to joy? Because what I love about this is not some like superficial anything. This is like real stuff, right? There's so much suffering in medicine. There's so much unwellness.
Mm-hmm.
Physicians are overworked, exhausted. And so how do they make that leap? And is that a journey or is it a leap really?
It's a journey. It takes time. When I just look back at my own burnout, I loved my patients. I love, I'm an internist by training. I worked and dedicated my career to working on the front lines of medicine in a federally qualified health center, community centers all my career. And I love those meaningful relationships that I have with my patients and serving in that capacity. But it was hard. It was really hard. Our training is hard, and then when you have a young family and you're trying to raise your kids and, be, the best physician, the best doctor, the best parent, the best of everything. For many of us, we're high achieving perfectionists, right? And oftentimes we don't feel like we are enough. We're measuring up. Right. And I think that also contributed a lot to my burnout was my own expectations of myself, which were really high and were not very forgiving, you know? And so for me, when I found coaching, I found it to be a very helpful tool to work with a coach one-on-one and to really learn that I could be flexible with my expectations and still pursue excellence. I could still be a good mom and a good wife and a good physician, but I don't have to be so hard on myself, right? And so there are different perspectives that you learn, obviously through coaching that can really help shift your perspective so that way you can start to enjoy this life that you work so hard to create, And so for me, in my experience, it's a journey. And so when I see those similar kinds of perspectives in many of the clients that I get to work with, it's just that realizing that we have these ideas of what life should be, right? And then we have reality. And it's recognizing that life, this concept of life is 50-50. Sometimes there's going to be good and sometimes there's going to be bad. And how can you find the joy in your journey, wherever you are on that continuum, that spectrum of wellness and well-being, right? So if you're burned out right now, sometimes it's really hard to see the joy and have gratitude when you're suffering, right? And so that's when, working with someone that can really, you can confide in and they can kind of give you a bigger perspective of the bigger picture. That's where you can start to have that shift, that mindset shift where you can start to appreciate, well, what can I enjoy right now? Yeah, life isn't perfect. It probably never will be. But in this moment of time, what can I, be thankful for and reflect on to bring me joy today? Because you deserve it, right? It's a gift you get to experience yourself.
What can I be joyful about? What is one thing that I can do right now to find joy? And I like the simplicity of that because sometimes we're looking for complicated answers. And, I'm thinking of this imagery that you may have seen as well, which is about the matches, like the matches
Mm-hmm.
and how all you need is for one of them to step out in order for you to change the direction of the rest of the matches. And sometimes that's for us. We're something as simple as that question and not just asking that question, but answering that question and doing what comes out, right?
Mm-hmm.
From it. And sometimes it's as small as, when I was working full time, pretty much full time, For me, it would be taking lunch away from the desk, out in the light, out in the sunshine, right? Like literally just doing that, which I'll do multiple times a week. And it doesn't matter, like, yes, you got charts to do, patients to see, but then literally small things, right? And it doesn't have to be the whole time. It could be half of your lunchtime, but just small practical things that can break the patterns in the status quo. I find that helpful. But I'm curious to hear what are some other things that maybe some of the clients have done or you've recommended that's been small steps that increase joy.
Yeah. Yeah. So that reminds me, one of my mentors, his name's Brendan Bouchard. He always has this kind of analogy that I want to share with you because I think it's so fitting. He says like, we have like the power plants, right? Power plants generate energy. And he says, these power plants, they don't have energy. They actually have to generate energy, right? And that's like us. Like we don't innately have joy. We actually have to generate that for ourselves. And how do we do that? We do that with our thoughts, our reflections, when we give gratitude and awe and wonder, and we give ourselves that time to really reflect on our life, right? And to look back at, look how far we've come, right? Look how much we've achieved. Look how much we've grown and evolved, right? That in itself is a gift that you can give yourself of like gratitude, for the hard work, for your dedication, for your commitment to serving humanity. Like, what a beautiful gift, right? And a lot of times we're just like, yeah, it's just my job. No, it's a calling, right? When you're in service, that's a calling. And just like when I work with my clients, we create a joy plan, essentially. We talk about, well, what could bring you more joy at work, right? And maybe it is taking lunch. For me, when I was charting, nobody loves to chart. Like who loves to chart? Nobody does, right? But it's something that we have to do. It's part of the job, right? And so I would make my coffee and I'd bring a coffee maker in my office. I'd make coffee. I would put on some nice music. I would make it a joyful experience. If I'm going to do it, why not do it with joy? Right? If I have to, take my kids, to soccer practice or to, orchestra practice or whatever, it's like, how can I bring joy in the mundane of, tasks in our day? And so let's, turn on the music, turn on the radio. Let's, put the rooftop open and like just bringing the joy, right? Because joy will escape you if you don't take that time. And when you develop that habitual ritual and practice, maybe it's making your first cup of tea in the morning, having time for reflection, for meditation, for prayer in the morning before you start your busy day. Or maybe it's at night where you meditate or stretch or do a yoga, exercise before you lay down to bed. Like those moments are precious and you deserve to feel the gift of this life. And so I always say, joy is not a luxury. It's really a necessity for your own sustained success and fulfillment. And it can really help you if you're struggling with burnout to just start a ritual of practice.
I love that. And sometimes what I recommend for women physicians that I work with when it comes to money is almost like hacking,
Mm.
where many times people have blocks when it comes to doing their money or moving to the next level. So maybe they're started and they have their business, they're making multiple six figures, their net worth, is multiple six figures, and now they're ready for seven figures, but they're sort of like stuck in that status quo. One thing that I have them to do is find things that are fun or give them joy and now take that and pair it. I literally have people that come to me with like big money problems, and the coaching is the first thing you need to do is like find something to find joy or fun in, right? And the reason why is it unlocks creativity, it decreases the amount of stress, right? Makes things feel like not such a big deal. And that opens you up to actually allowing and being able to do other things that you may not otherwise have done. Have you noticed some non-burnout, non-joyful related things that it's led to and sort of like activated for some of your clients?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think, we are in a practice of medicine that, there's chronic stress everywhere we turn. I mean, taking care of patients is not easy, you know, it can be fulfilling, but it's hard. Life is hard. And being a physician, a nurse, a PA, it's also very challenging. And so recognizing that, I think, is important. And when we're stressed out, it's hard to find the joy, right? And so don't underestimate, the power of stress and the power of really giving yourself time to de-stress, right? Like we really do need time to like walk away, and this is another thing that I like to share with a lot of the physicians that I work with is transitions, right? When you're working at work, I mean, you're going, room to room to room, 15-minute visits. I mean, it's crazy. And you're trying to get your charts done, and you're trying, I remember like starting work at 7 in the morning and then trying to beat, the traffic to get home, and you're wiped out, you're exhausted, And I remember just like, I would come home and, the house is a mess, dinner's not ready, the kids are, like all the things, and you're just like stressed out. And what I learned was that I didn't like the energy that I came home with when I was stressed out, exhausted, and tired. And so I started to do a ritual. And so I said, you know what? I don't like being snippy with my kids and my husband. And so I'm going to start something different. And so the next day I said, you know what? Instead of coming home and just walking in the door stressed out, I'm going to take 5 minutes. I'm going to park my car outside my house, and I'm going to take 5 minutes and walk around the block and get some fresh air and just like regulate my own emotions, get back to my center, feel more at peace, and then mentally decide, what is the energy I want to bring into my house today, right? And that hack, that transition changed everything for my family, right? I would walk in and I was ready to receive my kids, give them hugs and snuggles. I left my, exhaustion outside. I came home. I didn't like start snipping and snapping at them, right? I was like, okay, of course, dinner's not ready. Of course, it's not a problem. Like, we'll figure this out. And so, I think it's really important to take care of those high stressors that are in your life. Give yourself the time and space to tend to your own emotional well-being, regulate your emotions, and then have those planned transitions for when you're coming home or when you're going back to work, right? Deciding what is the energy that I want to serve with today? What is the energy I want to generate? What is the energy I want to bring? Is it joy? Is it calm? Is it equanimity, right? Peace in the storm. Like you get to decide that, moment by moment. And that is a gift too.
The choice of the emotional energy or the foil, the energy that we want to use for foil. I love that. I want to go back to when you get home and you sort of decide whether you to stay in the car or take a walk. So someone is listening right now and they're like, oh, that sounds interesting. I would like to do that, but it's already 6 p.m. I'm already leaving work late. And now you're saying that I should take a couple more minutes. Like, can you
Yeah.
talk about that part for that person that's listening right now and sort of like stuck in that scarcity of like, I don't have time to do all that walking around business nonsense ishness.
Yeah. No, that's so good. My question would be, you don't have time not to do it. Because when I would walk in the door frustrated, irritated, hot, tired, exhausted, and then I would, lay into my family or be snippy, it caused more problems, right? We would argue, we would get at each other. It would waste time because now I'd have to like apologize for my snippiness, right? And so, to be honest, many of us have core values, things that matter most to us, right? Every human wants meaningful connection, right? And when we're not showing up in the best way that we can, that takes a toll on our relationships. And more importantly, it takes a toll on our own relationship with ourselves because then we disappoint ourselves because we're not showing up in our true, authentic, presence and purpose and power. And so I realized really quick that strategy was a strategy that I needed to really implement in my life. And many of the clients I work with, when they start to change that, it changes everything in their relationship, right? With their kids, with themselves, and with their partners. And so I really think it's 5 minutes to just breathe, to be in silence, or to just turn on some pleasant music, 5 minutes to just, scroll on your phone if that's what de-stresses you, or to just walk back and forth down the block just for a moment of peace. And then you are taking care of you, right? Because a lot of times, most of our stress comes from not attending to our own needs, and as healthcare professionals, we're always nurturing, serving, and giving so much of ourselves. And so we have needs too. And who better than you to give yourself what you need, right? And that's, if it's 5 minutes, if it's going to the gym before you come home, dinner can wait 5 minutes, right? You're important too. And so give
You're
yourself the gift
important
of
too.
that. You
You're
are.
important too. Right,
You're
you're
important.
important. And I love how you brought up core value because that's not something many people think about when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to their own individual lives, right? They think about core values of a business, of a company, of a blah, blah, blah. But like, I'm curious, is that something that you use to help
Mm-hmm.
people realign their joy plan to what may be unique to them?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's step one. When I work with many of the physicians and healthcare professionals, leaders, is what are your core values? And for many people, it's meaningful connection, it's purpose. It's, we actually go through an exercise where we pick out what are your top 5 core values and what does it look like to live into those, right? Who do you want to be in your home? Who do you want to be, as you're leading your teams, as you're serving on committees, as you're training the next generation, right? Of leaders, of healers. And once you have that in mind, then it's really easy to really have a path to go forward, because now these are my core values and this is how I design a life that aligns with that. Because what I've found to be true is that when we're in burnout, when we're overwhelmed, when we are disappointed in how we're showing up, it's because we've lost the alignment to our core values. We're saying that this matters to us, but we're not living that out. And that I experienced that too. I said my family was important, but I let work, I bring it home, and I was not prioritizing, those values and the people that meant most to me. And so working with a coach can really give you the time and space to actually figure out, what are my values? What matters most to me in this season of life, right? Because it changes. It changes quarter to quarter, season to season. And you are not the same person as you were when you were a med student, as you're a resident, as you're an attending, right? As a leader. And so you need that time and space to really figure out what matters to me most in this season and how can I align my values in my life so that way I feel more fulfillment day to day and that I'm showing up in service with a joyful heart, right? Because I've given myself time and space to figure that out for myself. And man, it really, I know relationships are important to you. It changes everything. It really does.
Do you find a lot of challenge, or do you find that many physicians and professionals struggle with identifying what their own value is versus what, say, maybe culture,
Mm.
maybe, how they were raised? Like, how much impact does that play when it comes to silencing the noise and being able to re-identify that value in this specific season for them?
Oh, that's such a great question. So yeah, I mean, like I said, you are not the same person as you were as a med student, right? We came into medicine, for many of us, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, we're going to save the world. At least that was my vision. I was going to come, I was going to heal, I was going to do all these things. And then, the reality of healthcare and medicine and life happened, right? And so there are these cultural values. We all have them, whether it's passed down from generation to generation, our parents, society, the culture of medicine, that indoctrination of what success looks like, right? And so we get on this kind of path in medicine and we're chasing that ideal of what success is like. It's the awards, it's the accomplishments, it's the tenure, it's the, whatever that is for your your own specialty, whatever that looks like for you. But at some point, and usually for many people, it's midlife. Maybe for this generation, it's a little earlier. We want that work-life balance. We know what matters most to us. A lot of times we know what our values are, but a lot of times the outside world starts to mess with those values. And so there comes a reckoning where you have to decide what matters most to me, not what matters most to my parents, to society, to medicine, but in this season, what is really important for my own happiness, my own, journey. And I think that's a very important question to ask yourself because it changes, and as it should, right? Because you are a different person. You have evolved, you've grown. And I think once you have that in mind, it makes planning for your future so much clearer because you no longer have the nonsense of what the world says you should have, what should be in your bank account, how many cars you should have, the 2.5, what up kids, and all the things. It's like,
2.5
no,
kids.
the 2.5 kids, right? No, you get to decide like, no, I'm happy here. And that's okay. It doesn't have to, meet the expectations of others. I get to redefine what success looks like, what joy looks like day to day for me and my family.
I love it. I love it. And the beauty of that too is when you do that, it pours over everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It pours over everything. And, we're not saying that systems did not change. That's not what we're saying here. But what we're saying is even when everything is the same, how can we change while that is changing? And I actually have a good example of that for you, which you may appreciate. It's kind of a little different from Joy, but one of our amazing badass women physicians in a money school, I remember coaching, and one of her things was she was tired. She was tired. She was exhausted. She was like, I'm tired, right? And one of the things that I coached her on was that, and she wanted to change things in terms of work, but it wasn't that time yet. And one of the things that I got a sense for was that it wasn't just about the time, but it was also about the energy. And I said, what would need to change for you to feel better? And she's like, if I worked less, I would feel better. I said, yes, you're going to do that. However, while that is not changed yet, and I hope it doesn't change before you do this exercise, how can you get 40% of your energy back even without your work hours changing? And that was a hard one for her because we don't think that way necessarily. And the interesting thing is literally a week later, she was like, that made such a huge difference because she did not even conceive of the fact that she could have more energy without anything else changing except her expectations of herself, our own, many of us are perfectionists and all that stuff. And I'm looking forward to hearing more about how that is going to change things for her, even as time is going to change, right? Because what ends up happening is if we don't change, even when those things are the same, those things will change and nothing is really going to change because we never change, right? So I think about it as like, this is such an opportunity to use the circumstance you're in to help yourself develop a new skill set so that now when those things change, guess what? You're going to get more than like 2x return because now you've changed, they've changed, and you're going to have more like a 4x benefit or whatever calculation you want to call it. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts about that.
Oh yeah, brilliant. Exactly. Mindset is everything. I'm like your mindset, right? Like today I was tired, I was fatigued, right? And yeah, I could change the circumstance, but really all I had to do was change my mindset and be like, I'm so excited to be here. Like, I'm so excited to meet with Dr. Latifat and talk to her about this podcast. Like, yeah, I took a little 15-minute nap, because I didn't sleep well last night. But you know what? You can change your mindset. Your mindset is so powerful. And what you focus on, you create more of. And so if I focus on my exhaustion, I'm just going to exhaust myself more. But if I focus on like, what opportunities are, around the corner, how can I take care of myself? How can I bring joy? How can I generate more energy? That is changing your mindset. And that is such a powerful tool that you can leverage every day. every day, in your marriage, in your relationship with yourself, in your work. It's so powerful. So I love that. I love that.
Yeah, and for those that are listening that have kids, I mean, look at the impact that could make. Our kids started a new school last semester, and it's a new school. We're just come back from traveling, and many of these kids have been in that school for years and years, right? So here are my kids feeling like standing by themselves, right? And one of the things that I knew was that that was going to change with time, but it was a great opportunity to help them learn even before the circumstance changed. And so one of my kids, her work was to enjoy being by herself. That was enjoy, like literally have joy by herself. And we talked about kind of like the joy plan, you're talking about like practical things she could do to enjoy being by herself. I'm like, the more you enjoy being by yourself, the more attractive you are because you become someone that doesn't need those people. And so I was asking her recently, this was last semester. And this semester I was asking at the beginning, like, oh yeah, so what was the biggest thing that you learned last semester? And she said, just enjoying being myself.
Mm.
And I think about the impact of this stuff that we're talking about today, the skills, like the joy plan, the time that you guys are going to take to impute some of the things that Dr. Nora shared today. And the benefit of doing that work does not end with you. It doesn't even end with your family. Like, think about the patience that this becomes a new skill set because now you've seen the impact of it. And now you get to teach your patients. And some of them, they have abdominal pain, their chest pain, maybe because they need a little joy. I mean, of course, we're going to do the things to rule out the things, right? But those things have, brain gut connection, brain musculoskeletal connections, right? So I love this conversation because, for some people may go, well, this is a money podcast, but like, this is what it's about, y'all. It's about living that rich life. It's about creating joy and not waiting for someone out there to bring it to you. But like Dr. Nara says, like just creating that for yourself, generating. I like that because it makes you realize that you have one energy. I mean, you always have some sort of energy in your body and you can use that to create a different kind of energy, which is, the law of physics, like energy becomes converted from one form to the other. So what do you have? What energy do you have right now? Is it boredom? Can you turn that into joy? Is it sadness? How can you turn maybe a little bit? It doesn't have to be 100% or, maybe you're 100% sad. Can you generate 20% of joy and leave 80% of sadness so that you don't feel like a shock to your system?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the ripple effect of really applying these concepts in your life is so profound. Like doing it for yourself is one thing, but then once you learn how to emotionally regulate yourself, you teach that to your children. You teach that to your partner. It can't help but share that with them, and they see that within you, right? It changes everything. And I had the same conversation with my children, as they were starting school this fall. And when I drop them off at school, I always ask my boys, they're 11 and 13, and I ask them, I said, what is your word for today? I always ask them, what's your word for today? And one of my youngest one, he's not excited about school. He thinks it's boring.
Maybe it is boring.
It might be boring, but I said, you know what? If you focus on that, it's going to be more boring. So what is a word that you can pick today? And he picked fun. So how can you have more fun today? Is it playing gaga ball? Is it, reading a book? Like your word for today, he chose was fun. My other one was, committed. He's committed to learning track, and cross country. And so when you pick a word of the day, that can be a focus of that you get to kind of, again, generate the fun, the joy, whatever it is that you need in this season, you get to give that gift to yourself. But it takes intention, it takes practice. And the more you do the work, the more it takes a hold in your life for the better. Because burnout's always going to be there. The negativity in the world, right? We have a negativity bias. Our brains are designed to look for problems. I mean, literally that's our job as physicians, right? To do that differential diagnosis. And so of course, we're always going to be attuned to that. And so our job is really to focus on what is more life-giving, life-sustaining. right? And let this be a practice that you integrate for yourself, because that ripple effect to the people that you work with, the patients, that you care for, the communities that you serve, that radiant joy, energy, positivity will reach others. And you have no idea the ripple effect of that work. But you
So
have to give
good.
that gift to yourself first.
So good. So good. So let me ask you, if someone is listening right now and they're like, thank you so much, Dr. Nora. This has been helpful. How can they find you? How can they connect with you?
Yeah, they can reach me on my website. And I actually, I work with my medical society, and every month we do free webinars. And so I have a community with free, webinars to kind of help you put into practice a lot of the topics that we talked about, work, life, leadership. And so they can reach me at renewyourmindmd.com. It's my website, www.renewyourmindmd.com/renewed. And that will give you a prompt where you can enter your information and get access to this free online resources. And all healthcare professionals are welcome to join this free online resource. And if you have med students, residents, attendings, healthcare leaders, this is a safe space for you to get the resources that you need to support your well-being and the work that you do.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so, so much for being here. It's been such a pleasure hanging out with you, hearing what you have to say and share with the world. And I just want to say thank you for the work you do, right? The work you do is important. I think, especially as a physician, and I know you mentioned earlier that you were, working as an internist and now you're helping bring healing to healers. It's so important, the work that we do. And I wouldn't say now more than ever, but it's always been important. And so I just want to say thank you for doing the work. I see the stuff you're doing, teaching, speaking, webinars, and all that stuff. And it's literally going to take all hands on deck to help physicians. And I'm glad that you're part of that team.
Thank you so much, Dr. Latifa. And thank you for the work that you do, because we also need to have that rich life, and you're helping us see, it's the money, but it's also, the legacy and leading. And I just think that the work that you do is so, so very important too. So thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, everybody. I hope this has been of amazing value to you. If this has helped you in any way, don't forget, I want you to share this. Like literally right now, go text it to 5 women that you know. Text it to people, right? There is a need for more joy. There's a need for more health. There's a need for less burnout. And you, my dear, can be a part of that by literally sharing the wealth to people. So thank you. And of course, if you've been listening to the podcast or you're watching on YouTube, I would love to know what you think. And you can do that by leaving us a comment down here in the chat box. Or if you're on the podcast, leave us a review. That way it helps more people find joy. All right. Love you guys. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.